Well, the situation in Kenya with the protests. Well, first of all, we'll say that the president of Kenya has long been regarded as a Western client, if not a puppet. And that's not without reason. He has regularly ingratiated himself with the West. He has been pursuing neoliberal economic policies within Kenya that have made the lives of the people increasingly miserable. And so this has resulted, predictably, in protests that began peacefully and turned violent because of the police. The police shot at peaceful protesters. Now, they're calling for the removal of the president of Kenya, William Ruto. Now, what I would say about that situation is that it's similar to the situation before it in Sudan, and it's similar to the situation before Sudan in Egypt, where the people are protesting against the government for policies that the government is implementing, which the government is held hostage to implement in favor of multinational corporations and international lenders, chief among them the International Monetary Fund. In fact, the bill that stirred the protests in Kenya initially is basically an IMF bill, a structural adjustment reform, an austerity measure that is being demanded by the IMF of the Ruto government. So my opinion, as was my opinion with regards to Sudan, when Omar Bashir was being blamed for the economic policies that were the austerity measures, the austerity economic policies, the neoliberal policies that he was implementing under coercion in Sudan, and the protests against Sisi because of the neoliberal policies that he was implementing under coercion. My position has always been that these leaders, these politicians, exist to take the blame for the policies that they're implementing on behalf of private sector power. That's why they exist. That's why I call them effigies, because they exist to implement the policies that will make them unpopular, and then they'll take the brunt of the unpopularity. They'll take the brunt of public anger, and then they'll be removed, but the policies will remain, because the source of the policies is the private sector, is the international private sector. It's the OCGFC. It's the Western multinational corporations and lenders, financial institutions, and so forth. Again, specifically, the International Monetary Fund. This is your problem. And now, who is the International Monetary Fund doing what it's doing? Who is it doing it for? It's not doing it for Kenya. We all know that. And it wasn't doing it for Sudan, and it's not doing it for Egypt. So who are they doing it for? And when you identify who they're doing it for, then those are the private sector players, those are the power brokers that it makes more sense to me that the population should be protesting and should be directing their activism and their opposition towards those actors on the political and economic scene in Kenya, not the government. Now, I'm not speaking up in favor of William Ruto. There's a lot of problems with his government, certainly, without question, just as there were problems with the government of Omar Bashir, and there's certainly a multitude of problems with the government of Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. But when you're talking about specifically the way that they're managing the economy, you have to understand that they are not the managers of the economy. Their lenders are the managers of the economy, and the lenders are managing the economy in such a way as to benefit Western multinational corporations. So, for example, in Kenya, you should look at Coca-Cola. You should look at General Electric. You should look at Standard Chartered. You should look at Barclays Bank. Look at Safaricom, Nestle, IBM, and look at Toyota. These are the beneficiaries of the economic policies. These are the beneficiaries of neoliberalism. They're the ones who are holding the government hostage. And they're doing it by means of the IMF. So your president, and again, whether it's Kenya or whether it's Sudan or whether it's Egypt or whether it's Pakistan and many other places around the world, and increasingly you can say the same thing about countries in Europe, these governments, these politicians, are hostages, and the policies that they're implementing are essentially like when you see a hostage being forced to read a list of demands. You don't get angry at the hostage for the demands that he's making on behalf of the hostage taker. And that's what the government does. That's what your president does. That's what your prime minister is doing. You know, they're just reading the list of demands that they have been told that they must that must be met in order for them to not be eliminated. And the one that's going to be eliminated here isn't the president, it's your whole economy. Because the IMF has considerable power to sabotage and cripple your economy if you don't do what they say. That's why it's better for you if you never get involved with them in the first place. And this is why I've said time and time again that it's much better for Muslim countries, for countries in the global south, for countries in Africa, to do business with China, to do business with Russia, while they still can, while those countries are still interested in investing in Africa, in the global south, Latin America, and the Muslim world, and so on, while they still have the money to spend, you ought to take the money from them rather than taking the money from the IMF. Because the IMF and Western lenders generally are not actually interested in you paying them back. They don't want you to pay them back. Because when they loan you money, they're calling it a loan, and you think it's a loan. But what they're actually doing is buying you. So they don't want the money back. They want what they bought, which is your whole country.
You can achieve anything you want. After the Kenyan government lost to the youth and cancelled all taxes, the youth in other African countries are trying to follow the path of the Kenyan youth. The youth in Zimbabwe are planning a nationwide protest in August. Tanzania, that recently bought electric trains, are also planning the same thing. Still, they said they don't like the way the government is ruling them. In Malawi, 2 weeks from now, they will also embark on a nationwide protest. Ghana, they said maybe September. Nigerians are also planning the same thing. And I'm pretty sure other African nations will join in. According to the youth in Zimbabwe, they said they have been ignored enough. They've sat down and they watch people make themselves rich after entering into national politics. The youth in Malawi says they are fighting against bad governance and selfish leaders. So yes, the youth of Kenya have shown the other African countries the way that if they demonstrate in unison, the government will do what the people like. So in Zimbabwe, Malawi, Tanzania, maybe Ghana, maybe Nigeria, maybe Sudan, they will surely rise up and protest.
Moving forward, whenever I meet a Kenyan on the road, I will greet them like this. Sir! If it's a woman, Madam! Respect the Gen Z population of Kenya. You guys reminded us of who you are. Just look at your flag, the shield. You are warriors. Thank you for showing us that when we come together as a unit, as one, we are able to accomplish anything.
As from today, Kenya is my giant of Africa. If you ask me, who is the giant of Africa? I will say, Kenya people are the giant of Africa. I don't care what your dictionary is telling you. I don't care what your Google is telling you. I don't give a fuck. Yes, I'm a Nigerian, but right now, Kenya has won my heart. Yes, they have won it 100%. I support them. I salute them. They have done impossible. They have done something that everyone else is afraid to do. They have the heart of a lion. They are the real son of the soil. Yes, respect to them. Yes. I like as they play like this. Now, at least now, the government of Kenya now, we know that, yes, the power really belongs to the people. Yes. Nigeria is over 250 million people, and the only 100 people when no reach 500, they drive Nigeria like moto. They drive us like moto. If the drivers go left, we go left. If the drivers go right, we go right. If the drivers go middle, we stay for middle. If they control us like remote, just few people. Can't see how Kenya people they do. Can't see how people where want their country to move forward. See as they do. Tomorrow, now Nigerians go run, go Kenya, go they look for better life. Go they look for job. and that job go kill you, and that better life go kill you. Deport them. Any Nigeria where you see for Kenya, deport them. As you deport them, panabit them. Tell them, say, may they go fix their country. Because I think this is the only way Nigerians can fix their country. If other people stop to give us visa, if other people stop to welcome us in their country, then we will come back and fix our country for other people to come to our country. Yes, they no forbid us make other people that come Nigeria come look for better life. They no forbid us. We have everything it takes in Nigeria to be a greater nation. What the hell is going on? Why are we not a greater nation? Why? Because we hand over our government to old people with civil war mentality, old people with colonial mentality, old people that see that think that they are not good enough to handle their things by themselves, old people that are scared of white people, old people that are willing to lick the ass and the foot of white people over their own people. Yes, when your president is 90 years of age, the vice is getting is heading to 60 years. What? The Senate president is heading to 70 years. What kind of country is that? Country of old people with diabetes, old people with staggering strength. What kind of country is Nigeria? What the hell is Nigeria? Is that a country? A country where bandits and terrorists are going around killing people, destroying farms. We call that a country. Country that you cannot even sleep with your two eyes closed. Yes. Nigeria is the giant of Africa. You never become giant in your own state. Now Africa you want go be giant. Giant kill you. My Kenyan people, you guys are the champion of the day. I love you guys. You guys are the heroes. I respect you guys a lot. Oh my God, I wish I can give you guys a hug. You guys have done the impossible. I'm so proud of you guys. Much love from Nigeria. I'm a Nigerian, but I dey like una way. Make I no lie, give myself. I dey like una way as una dey do things in one accord like this. I dey like them. I dey like them. Our own for Nigeria be say with the still play around tribe. This one is Igbo. This one a youth in his 20s. He's telling his fellow youth. This one is Igbo. This one is Hausa. Meanwhile, we dey face the same thing. Me and you they face the same thing. Hunger they kill me and you. No job, nothing. The only job in Nigeria right now is to be an internet influencer. That is the only job that is left for the youth of Nigeria to do. Make we the talk truth. Yes, to be a comedian, to be a musician, to be a movie star. That is the only job that is left in Nigeria to do as a younger person. No other job again. No other job again. Otherwise, you want to be a Yahoo boy or a Runs girl. And you think with this step that we can meet up to the future. Una dey play, una just dey play, una just dey play with your life. Man, I'm so tired of Nigeria, bro. So fucking tired. These people are not listening, bro. Until it gets late, everywhere in the world, every country is waking up, trying to grab whatever they can grab right now that is a little bit opportunity for them. We are, but Nigeria, we are still waiting. We are still looking for country where go fix themselves so that we can go there tomorrow and be looking for a better life. Better life, key or so. I beg my Kenyan people, the support una as una they push and they go at the support una. But make sure as una finish, make sure you guys get what you guys want, and then you guys put the right person to help una go to the promised land. No mind these old politicians.
After just few days of protesting, Kenya president don't finally submit. He does surrender to the people of Kenya.
Consequently, having reflected on the continuing conversation around the content of the Finance Bill 2024, and listening keenly to the people of Kenya, who have said loudly that they want nothing to do with this Finance Bill 2024, I concede, and therefore I will not sign the 2024 Finance Bill, and it shall subsequently be withdrawn, and I have agreed with these members that that becomes our collective position.
Not be even youth now, not the Gen Z, young people, when they're born from, when you talk about Gen Z, they talk about from 1996 to 2012. Now they protest, the bill, finance bill where the president be one sign, they say no way, the president don't finally agree to them. And meanwhile for Nigeria, President Tinubu, he enter, he remove fuel subsidy. Everybody they suffer. He even say, I understand, una go need to suffer. Before you know it, the value of naira fall. Everybody they look and nobody fit talk. Look at the price of things. See situation. Ordinary minimum wage that they will labor say they want protest. It threatened them, nobody fit talk again. And now una put am for there with the practice democracy. But make una look at Kenya. Just few days of protest. Small children, the youth now come and protest. Because they be one pass the finance bill for that Kenya. Nigerians, nobody, giant of Africa. See, we are not supposed to be giant of Africa just in words, but also in deed. See situation. See hunger, see starvation for Nigeria. No employment, nothing, people they suffer. Una they complain, but no action, nobody fit talk. Peaceful protest. You know how many people there in Nigeria? I want to make una take that bold step. Come out in mass. Come demand from the government which una want. They go do one. Few individuals that they destroy that nation from a very eye, crow, na open eye. Nobody fit stand up. But make una look at Kenya. You all need to learn from Kenya. Nigeria Jude. Look at Kenya Jude.
These demonstrations have even augmented. They are not just talking about this finance bill. Now we are saying Ruto must go because he has crossed the red line. We are going to demand that the IMF draft bill be pushed back because it is not a product of the people. So what the Kenyan people are saying that do not debate a product that is being imposed upon the Kenyan people. What puts President Ruto into State House is that he affirms to the Kenyan people that you will observe fidelity to the Kenyan Constitution. If the President Ruto violates the Constitution, he has no mandate, he has no jurisdiction to be our president. And the Article 1 of the Constitution absolutely mentions that all power is in the people of Kenya. They can exercise it directly through themselves or indirectly through the leaders that they have elected to represent them. That means the only way for the young people in the street, if the President Ruto violates the Constitution, whoever calls the law must live by that law. There is nowhere in the Constitution that is indicated that IMF and World Bank can impose a draft on us for discussion. In fact, the Constitution narrates itself and pronounces itself that all discussions and public participation must be from below. And it actually resonates with the President's message when he was campaigning, the bottom-up approach. Okay. Now, this practicality we are talking about, that the President has a choice. He can choose to stick by the Constitution and extend his term, or be overthrown by the anger of the people, because all power belongs to the people of Kenya, without restricting ourselves to a boat crowd in Parliament that to petition the same president.
World Bank and IMF, please stop meddling with the matters and the affairs of Kenya. Stop meddling with the affairs of Kenya. Hapa Kenya, we need to make our own decisions. Lakini tuko na president ambaye kila wakati ako kwa ndege anaenda abroad. Kila wakati yeye ni aviator. Kila wakati yeye ni aviator. Anakule wanamwambia maneno, anakuja anaambia MPs wake wanafanya nini? Wanapitisha bill. Bill haipiti. Ikipita tutakufa kwa hii nchi. Ikipita tutakufa hii Nairobi. We are going to take over this country from today. Ya leo ni finance bill. Kesho tutakutana kwa mambo mengine.
Abducting us and killing us won't stop us. Seizing the future of this nation. R.I.P. to our fallen soldiers. Yes, they knew that freedom had a price. This is our country, we're not giving up. We raise our voices, we are free for this. We not turn it down, we will not stop. This is our country, we're not giving up. We lose our fear, they lose their.
So my fellow Kenyan is supposed to die because of 20,000 shillings, yet Ruto wears a watch that is 6 million. How much can 6 million do? And this also goes to our Chief Justice. Chief Justice, Martha Koome, you bought a vehicle that is worth 30 million Kenya shillings. And as our Chief Justice, I want us to do it mathematically. 30 million divided by 12. How many chief magistrates could you hire? We don't have an issue of judicial backlog. We have an issue of misappropriation of resources. It's very, very, very clear. If for 30 million, if you were to pay a magistrate 250,000 Kenya shillings, it's still petty cash. Okay? You'd be able to clear more than 48,000 cases. It's very, very, very simple. 30 million divided by 250. Okay? Then you say you will get 120. From the 120, then divide that by 12. You will get 10. So you will be able to get clean 10 clear magistrates. 10 magistrates, 20 files in a day, 20 working days. That's 20 times 20 times 10. That's 500 times 12. That's 48,000 cases that could be able to be resolved through your one vehicle. Through your one vehicle. Yet, we have MPs driving 50 million, 30 million. One car could be able to clear judicial backlog.
Enter Parliament buildings through the MP's canteen section 30 minutes after the controversial Finance Bill 2024 was passed by Parliament. MPs who had been trapped inside the chamber following protest outside Parliament buildings were caught unawares as they scampered for safety. As protesters closed in on the legislators, the MPs rushed towards Parliament's emergency exit. The stampede causing some MPs to be overwhelmed as Parliamentary Sergeant-at-Arms came to their rescue. As protesters caused havoc inside various parliamentary buildings, the MPs were evacuated using a newly constructed tunnel that links the National Assembly and Senate chambers to Bunge Towers. Here, Basement 2 and Basement 1 served as hideout bunkers for MPs who were visibly shocked by the unprecedented invasion. It took about an hour before the first evacuees were rescued, with Senate Speaker Amason Kingi whisked away in this ambulance. Personal belongings to some members of parliament who were caught unawares. Right now, MPs have been evacuated from parliament buildings. We saw the parliamentary leadership, including speakers from both houses of parliament, being evacuated. Many more remained trapped in the basement area of parliament buildings, eagerly waiting for expected help. Vehicles belonging to MPs were driven to safety in the basement area moments before protesters commenced the siege. Legislators trapped inside the KICC offices were evacuated by helicopters.
What followed was to breach Parliament. Protesters began by bringing down the fence of Parliament through the Mzee Jomo Kenyatta Mausoleum section. To add insult to injury, the determined protesters set a section of Parliament buildings on fire. This will again trigger an ugly clash with security men, and more lives were lost here. From here, they overran Parliament, taking over all corridors and offices. Anything and everything in their way was cleared and shuttered. But for a quick break, they enjoyed the sumptuous lunch that had been prepared for the MPs. Flags in Parliament suddenly pulled down and later used the very flags to drape the bodies of fallen comrades. Portraits of previous speakers of Parliament were all lowered as they gained access into the National Assembly chambers.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm here to address you. You must go. Kwapa na hatuendi. Kwapa tunalala huku na hatuendi. We don't fear you guys.
Parliament is no longer habitable. Destruction from left, right and center. Right from the Senate section to the section of the National Assembly. Windows have been shattered, with even the kitchen destroyed completely. Stephen Leto, Citizen TV, Parliament Buildings, Nairobi.
And members of Parliament were forced to endure a 2-hour siege in the basement of Parliament buildings as the legislative infrastructure was invaded by protesters. Senate Speaker Amason Kingi was among MPs evacuated by ambulances as others passed out during the rescue and evacuation operation. Seth Olale witnessed the dramatic happenings at Parliament buildings.
Protesters enter Parliament buildings through the MP's canteen section 30 minutes after the controversial Finance Bill 2020.
Now, in the ongoing public discourse on the Finance Bill of 2024 has brought to the forefront a number of other issues that the public has expressed skepticism about. Among those is the proposal to amend the Land Act of 2012 to allow the government collect annual land levy from freehold land owners. The amendments, which are currently awaiting scheduling for second reading, experts say, if enacted, could see hundreds of Kenyans lose their property back to government. And as Jimmy Mbogo reports, landowners have a reason to worry should the amendment sail through the legislative process.
Now, the Land Amendment Bill number 2 of 2023 proposes to insert a new clause which will force freehold landowners, and these are landowners who enjoy free ownership for perpetuity and can use their land for any purpose, to pay land rent. According to the bill, and I quote, the Land Act of 2012 is amended by inserting the following new section immediately after Section 54, which says, the owner of any freehold land situated within the boundaries of any urban area or city shall pay an annual land levy equivalent to land rent charged on comparable leasehold land or property of the same size in the same zone. But what is the impact of that to landowners? According to Dr. Mwenda Makadhimo, the Executive Director of Land Development and Governance Institute, LDGI, this translates to taxing Kenyans for owning land in urban areas.
That means government is charging you a tax for owning freehold land, which is not government land. That is what this act is giving. The land that you may have inherited from your parents, that owned by them, that is passed to the children, that you may have bought from people who had inherited that land. That is what we call freehold land.
Imposing this annual levy on land, that is freehold property, essentially has the effect of converting freehold property into leasehold property, and by that way running the risk of dispossessing many Kenyans who may not be able to afford to pay the levy on their land. And this includes the people like indigenous peoples whose lands are ancestral land.
The bill, which is sponsored by Ruiru Member of Parliament Simon Kingara, could further give the Cabinet Secretary for Land the power to acquire land compulsorily whenever the county or national government determines that there is need to acquire the particular piece of land, an issue that Dr. Mwenda believes will be retrogressive in the long run, adding that the bill is taking away the powers of an independent commission, and this could leave Kenyans counting losses should there be need for compulsory acquisition.
So therefore, that brings in new risks that can lead to arbitrary denial of property rights as provided under Article 40, arbitrary denial of just compensation, full, prompt and fair just compensation in case of compulsory acquisition for public purpose. So therefore, that amendment is retrogressive. It is returning Kenya to the framework where land was managed and held on behalf of the president before the new 2010 constitution.
Any amendment should not be contrary to the current title or interests that the person holds. If the constitution says you have right to property, then that should be protected. If the land laws say that you have a freehold interest and that interest carries an ultimate or superior title where you're not paying annual land rent, then that should be considered.
Despite claims by the government through the majority leader Kimani Ichung'wah that there is no such a bill, Citizen TV has learned that the bill has gone through all the steps of the National Assembly and is currently in the Senate.
Because I saw some members of parliament, for instance, ask me about the land question. And I took them through the bill and showed them even how to check. And you can imagine this is a member of parliament who's been in parliament for 2 years, who doesn't know what to check in a bill.
As the legislative process continues in parliament, property owners have been urged to first understand the property rights that they hold through their title deeds to avoid getting caught unawares. Jimmy Mbogo, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
Friday 28th, in the heart of Port-au-Prince, Kenyan police, fully equipped and utilizing armored vehicles, patrol the streets. This marks the arrival of the first contingent of the Kenyan police officers in the Caribbean nation. Their presence brings a cautious hope to the residents.
Fighting for Kenya as a country, but fighting for Africa as a continent. Africa has been under colonization since time immemorial, since time and again. As the powers left, they left specific families in powers, thinking they would control the entire African continent. But time has come. Kenya is proving we can be able to pave a way for change, and change is coming. I tell you, change is coming. Wave of change is coming to Africa, and this is just the beginning. I am ready to die. Today is my birthday. Happy birthday to me. I'm ready to die on my birthday. As a 23-year-old kid, on a day nikamilishe masiku zangu na nikufe kama nina miaka zangu. What's your name? My name is Sydney Arisi Mugasia. I run a company, Lodon Consultancy Firm. My workers are at work at the moment. They're telling me, boss, fight for us. Boss, fight for us. And I will fight for them. I will die for them. That's all I have to say. Penny wengine coverage.